What is going on? It's Alex coming back at you with another video, and today we are back with Mock the Mock. CBS just dropped a brand new mock draft. We are here to review it. For those of y'all who have been wondering, where the hell have I been? I actually went on a short little trip over to Los Angeles to go visit some of my old friends, and it was honestly amazing. Wanted to make sure you guys had some content, had your mock draft for the week, so I made sure you got your fixins in. Now we're going to build up some more momentum. It is Christmas Eve. Merry Christmas Eve to y'all. I'll be dropping most likely a Mock the Mock on Christmas as well. That's TBD, to be fair. I think that maybe we could all take another day off and just enjoy family and being able to enjoy some good football. So let's get right into this. Again, if you are new, feel free to like, comment, and subscribe. Below my face is my board. Below that are all the ways to get involved in the community, as well as take advantage of our two great sponsors, Pop as well as UnderDog Fantasy. Let's get right into this. Again, there's a lot of stuff that's going to be going on in the very near future. In the next week or two, we're just going to be going crazy. So let's have some fun. Let's get into this. Starting out with the number 1 overall selection. Again, this was made before before everything's been updated because the games are going on right now. Bears have the number 1 pick still. We'll see what happens. Most likely, they will still have the number 1 overall pick. Last time I checked, Carolina not doing too hot. But Caleb Williams, it just depends. We got to see a little bit more about how Justin's performing because, again, it is in the best case scenario. So the reason you would pass on Caleb Williams is this. One, you're going to have an amazing trade package. That's, naturally what traded y'all out of number 1 last year. But number 2, you have to believe in Justin. Like, it just has to be in one of those two options because you're going to potentially going to get one more year for Justin to truly prove himself. If he does, and again, some of y'all say he's proven himself. I think that I would roll the dice. I would. But when it comes to what Justin could be, you have 1 year to find out, and then it's 50 million plus after that if everything goes well. Now, some of y'all are saying, hey, let's see if Justin can take a team-friendly contract. I get that. That's not the NFL we live in. And you're essentially rooting on Justin not performing as well as he needs to be a starting caliber quarterback, which makes it more likely that they should go after a replacement. I have to show both sides of the argument here because Caleb Williams is a phenomenal prospect. I think he can actually work in a very similar system. He has the mobility, not as strong as Justin Fields, but he has the playmaking ability and just literally he could just be what Justin Fields was supposed to be. So we'll put it there. I'm not fully against Caleb Williams going number 1. I'd prefer Marvin Harrison because I am a truther of Justin Fields. But again, there's legitimate arguments for going Caleb Williams here. And the later in the season we go, the more I'm wanting to see even more progression. Then we got at pick number 2, Drake Maye. I take him to the Patriots all the time. I think this is a perfect fit. He has a high upside, a little bit inconsistent, but I do think that it depends on the coach, to be fair, because New England might be a whole entire set of musical chairs there. But we'll see what happens when all is said and done. At pick number 3, we have Marvin Harrison Jr. to the Cardinals. If you have the opportunity to get Kyler Murray a super weapon, I can guarantee you they are going to take it. At pick number 4, Olu Fashanu for the Commanders. I do think that Jayden Daniels does have a potential of going at pick number 4. There's just deep down, there legitimately could be that possible outcome right there. The offensive line's crap, so yes, I'm in full support of this pick if it happens. But when you're looking at Sam Howell, he just doesn't have the confidence. He's scrambling even out of clean pockets, and there's just the timing's not there. And I was a Sam Howell truther. He's my QB1 of that class. So again, I of all people have my reputation on the line when it comes to Sam. And he's shown the potential there, but he is not ready to play. Now, somehow if you could land another veteran quarterback for a year and get Olu Fashanu, that's like almost ideal. Somehow, some way if Kirk Cousins let's run it back, then I'd be totally down for it. But until then, Olu Fashanu is a great choice, but maybe deep down you might want to start considering some other options. Pick number 5, the Bears go Chop. And that is really high for Chop Robinson. He has unbelievable untapped potential. I don't think him at 254 complements Montez Sweat as well as, essentially if the Bears were able to trade out of this pick, being able to move down, get Braylon Trice, even those of y'all who love Leatu Latu. It's a better frame. It's an extra 10 to 15 to 20 pounds that you get to have where you can have lightning and thunder instead of essentially delegating your edges as DPRs, designated pass rushers. So for me, that's my only pause. But I mean, it's still a really good pick. Just very, very high to not get the perfect outcome out of it. Pick number 6, the Giants go Jayden Daniels. I would love to see if this were a 2-round mock draft. I would love. Oh, by the way, Justin Fields was traded to an AFC team. It says they're up. Well, I guess you don't get to see it, but it does say it up there in the title. But Jayden Daniels, regardless, Jayden Daniels is a phenomenal player. I mean, whoa! They have him as QB1. Pause. That's crazy. Now that's fucking wild. Like, just straight up, that's wild. I have him as my QB2. They have him as second best player in the class. That is crazy. That is wild. I like Jayden Daniels. Dude takes too many hits. Straight up, he takes too many risks. That's my big issue with Jayden. He doesn't really go through progressions as well as maybe he should, but honestly, none of the QBs in this class, especially in college offenses now, they're not very progression heavy. I do have my issues with them respectively, but Jayden is my QB2. I wouldn't dare put him as a. I don't even. Do I even have him as a blue chip player? No, he's not even a blue chip player on my board. Granted, that might change because there's a lot of intricacies with my grading system, but we'll see what happens there. But Jayden being number 2 on the board, crazy. I do think, especially at the second round, New York could end up getting a wide receiver in Brian Thomas and get that LSU connection. The Jets go Joe Alt. It's probably as good of a pick as you could probably imagine. I mean, last week he allowed 3 pressures or 3 sacks. I think it was 3 pressures in the first half. So, like, naturally, I love Becton, but, he's not good enough at left tackle to say I'm going to pass on the best left tackle. We'll leave it there. Pick number 8, Johnny Newton goes to the Chargers. I don't think Jerzon Newton's going to be the guy who makes up as much ground as maybe getting some more explosiveness on offense or better offensive line protection. I love Johnny Newton to the Chargers, but again, at pick 8, it's a little bit rich for me when I do know there's good options in round number 2. Round number 3, there's good options as well. I know there's going to be a new coaching system. That's going to be a huge wins above replacement move, but Johnny Newton, I have my doubts. I have my doubts about it being pick 8 worthy for the Chargers specifically. He is, you guys can see right there on my board, he's my number 13 player. So I think the value's right, just maybe not for the team. Pick number 9, Malik Neighbors goes to Tennessee. I would love to see Malik just go absolutely bonkers with Will Levis and just being able to see how everything just totally meshes into perfection with those deep balls. Will Levis loves to say YOLO and just chuck it. Malik Neighbors would be one hell of a fun target to see paired with that arm. At the same time, I do just want to continue developing the offensive line. I think the weapons can come later. Tennessee is actually pretty damn good at sniping no-name players. So I would prefer for them to continue doing that in the receiving room rather than opting to go and, bolster the wide receiver core. Like, I'd rather go after the offensive line. But y'all know, that's what I do. At pick number 10, we got Leatu Latu here for the Falcons. He fits the exact prototype build that they're looking for, 265, 270. I guess if you're really thinking that's going to be what makes a difference on the team, then, it just depends on what you think of the next quarterbacks. I like Bo Nix. Bo Nix is my QB3. At the same time, I do understand his average depth of target is literally 6.7 yards. Not the greatest, but his throws downfield are actually very phenomenal. I think that he could be a good fit here in Atlanta. If you want to wait till the second round, JJ McCarthy, if he comes out, would be a great addition as well. At pick number 11, Kool-Aid McKinstry goes to the Packers. Corners become a much more pressing issue for the Packers than I think I wanted to admit. I do like Cooper DeJean because of that versatility he offers, but at the same time, it's hard to say no to a true corner number 1 who has the size that you might not get out of Jair Alexander. At pick number 12, Rome Odunze goes to the Packers. Why? Like, the Raiders have so many issues, and then they decide to end up enforcing and bolstering their one strength. That is really weird. Obviously, definitely not going to agree with this pick right here. I guess it would make for a fun pairing. Oh, okay. So they traded for Justin Fields. Should have probably mentioned that. So the Raiders trade for Justin Fields, then they get Romo Dunze and Devontae Adams. But again, this receiving core is fine. The last thing you need to do is continue making it even better when you have a billion other issues to solve. There's obviously some top tier corners on the board, some good defensive linemen on the board. I mean, hell, you can go offensive line as well. There's just a lot better moves than going after Romo Dunze. So, yes, Fields gets traded to Las Vegas. Whoop-de-doo. Pick number 13, Brock Bowers goes to the Saints. I mean, that's pretty damn good value, and it's honestly a big need. He should have went before. That's the unsaid. I mean, y'all know my board. He's number 2 on my board, so y'all know where I think he should go. But, if he ends up being here, can't really fault the Saints for saying, screw it, we're going to go best player available. And pick number 14, the Broncos end up going J.C. Latham. He's developed so well over the past year. And getting a solidified offensive line is honestly the first thing an NFL team should do. That's the best thing you can do is protect your quarterback, protect your running backs. It just gives your receivers more time. I don't understand why NFL teams don't focus more on developing their offensive lines than they are right now. But I'm going to be in full support of this if you can believe that JC can flip to left tackle. And, I do know he did pay a lot of money last year in the offseason to secure that right tackle spot. It just depends if Garrett Bowles wants to be there, because I do know he's had his frustrations. If he wants to stay, this makes absolutely no sense. But if he doesn't, it makes some sense. If you get what I'm saying, pick number 15, Cam Kinchins, is taken to the Seattle Seahawks. Not a fan of this one. I don't like it. Simply put, he's not that phenomenal of a player to take this high at a low value position. I like Cam, but also at the same time, this team is not in need of a safety that badly. Julian Love's come out and become an absolute freak show for you. So you do have 3 safeties who are starter quality on your roster. I doubt you need to spend a top 15 pick on one. I'll leave it there. At pick number 16, you got Kalen King. Y'all know how much I love Kalen King. He's my number 14 player in the class. Obviously, I'm doing my corner re-evals, so things are subject to change. But Kalen's a perfect number 2 in Pittsburgh. I don't know why people get all grouchy about it. He had a little bit of a down year. It was his first year being a corner 1. It happens. Some guys don't take that leap immediately. But Kalen King will not be a corner 1 in the NFL if he goes to the Pittsburgh Steelers and pairs up with Joey Porter Jr. So it would be cool to see them back again. Of course, with Tulise Fuaga on the board, I prefer to go after offensive line, even though my heart loves the storyline of the Penn State corners. At pick number 17, you got Jared Verse out of Florida State going to the Arizona Cardinals. If you end up walking out of this with Marvin Harrison Jr. and Jared Verse, I'd be very, very happy. At pick number 18, the Bills go Troy Franklin. It's a bit high for Troy because he's a little bit smaller, but Troy is my number 35 player in the class. He is an excellent dynamic weapon. It really is. Also, his drops ended up jumping, I think, by 9% this year. It's not the best, but he was down to 3% last year, which is kind of ridiculous. Troy Franklin's just overall super fluid athlete, just a little bit smaller for my liking. I don't know how I would be in terms of projecting how he could perform in the cold weather at that thinner frame. I just feel like one big hit. It does scare me a little bit, but the talent's there. The talent is there. At pick number 19, Keon Coleman, which honestly I would love Keon Coleman a lot more for the Bills, but Keon Coleman goes to the Buccaneers. They're apparently looking at bringing back Baker Mayfield, which is, I love Baker. I'm not going to say that because you're all going to find my Finsta, but there's people used to tell me I used to look like Baker Mayfield. Feel free to say yes or no to that. I don't take offense to either, but Keon Coleman would be essentially the Mike Evans replacement. We'll see what happens there, but he is up for a contract, and at the same time he is older, so you could kind of get a mentorship going on there with Keon. At pick number 20, we got Bo Nix, obviously my QB3. Big fan. Not a big fan of the fact that that JPEG is in low quality, but who am I to judge? But Minnesota ends up getting their quarterback of the future. Big fan of that if he is on the board. Cooper DeJean then goes to the Los Angeles Rams. The Rams have been phenomenal at finding the right roles for their defensive backs. I would be perfectly fine with this selection. At pick number 22, the Colts go Leonard Taylor. I think I'd prefer to go after a main nose tackle, even though Leonard Taylor's played plenty of it. I don't think he will end up being a nose in the NFL. I'd prefer to go after Tavondre Sweat if you're going defensive interior for the Colts in round number 1. You know, there are some other players that are still on the board that I really love, like Emeka Egbuka, that I think could be a really good fit here, but going after defensive interior, not a bad idea. At pick number 23, they got versatile guard Graham Barton. I don't really understand why they would need to go after an interior offensive lineman this early. You know, again, I've done it myself because I love Christian Haynes, but that's because he's my number 12 player in the class. This is their 38th player in the class, taking him at number 23 for a team that isn't that desperate, in my opinion. I think Ezra Cleveland could be brought back. I just don't really fully get it, personally. With the wide receivers are on the board, and, you know, if we're talking about how Mike Evans might walk in free agency, we should probably talk about how there's the potential for Calvin Ridley to also walk. At pick number 24, we got Xavier Worthy to the Bengals. I mean, again, it's a curveball. You could put him in the slot and essentially replace Tyler Boyd. That would be very intriguing. Just 170, really small. And I don't know if he's actually 172. These numbers seem to be inflated on the site. But, you know, Xavier Worthy is not the best thing since sliced bread. I'd rather go Emeka Egbuka. He's bigger. He's able to play the slot very well. There's just not much that's wrong with Emeka Egbuka. And he's in Ohio. So you can also, you know, put him still in Ohio, and he performs very well. I don't really get that pick. At pick number 25, the Chiefs go Jordan Morgan. Honestly, I'm fine with that. I prefer Talisay Fuaga at this point just because of the fact that he's higher ranked on my board. But I do like the change of pace because I think a tackle is not a bad idea for the Chiefs. I dropped off from taking tackle for them, but again, they're actually starting to get in range where it's semi-viable to go after a tackle. At pick number 26, you got Dallas Turner pairing back up with Will Anderson. I love the storylines of this one, especially with being able to pair up, you know, Kalen King, Joey Porter Jr., now Dallas Turner, and Will Anderson Jr. At pick number 27, we got the Lions going Terrion Arnold. No reason for him to be the 66th prospect rank. This dude is probably going to end up staying as my corner one. He is phenomenal, pretty much miniature JPJ to me. Big fan, and I think the Lions would prosper to get a corner like him. At pick number 28, we got Braylon Trice to the Philadelphia Eagles. You know, just fits the exact profile that they're looking for the long run to back up and rotate with Josh Sweat. You end up potentially not keeping Hassan Reddick in the near future, and then you have Nolan Smith take his place. Braylon Trice could essentially usher in that new era and that new cap savings. Then we got Talisay Fuaga going to the Miami Dolphins. He would essentially be training to be a pure left tackle. They ended up bringing back Austin Jones on a 3-year contract, which is excellent. I personally would be perfectly fine with this because he could be a really good interior offensive lineman day one as he's training from Terron Armstead to be the future at left tackle. At pick number 30, we have the Cowboys going Edgerrin Cooper. I don't think he's proven himself to be worthy of a first-round selection. I do think the Cowboys could look into that linebacking room, even though they've had quite a few guys who've stepped up. Naturally, I like to upgrade the linebacking room just with more dudes. But at the same time, there are some good edge rushers that are still available that you can add. You can also go after a potential corner. There's obviously some offensive linemen that I would prefer, like Kingsley Suamataia. There's better choices, in my opinion, than Edgerrin Cooper. Then we got the Niners going Xavier Legette, another South Carolina big-bodied, great after-the-catch receiver. I don't really care what the Niners do in the draft anymore because ultimately the system, the coaching, and the defense, and then the fact that they end up getting super steals like Brock Purdy end up making me just say, screw it. Let them do what they want. Like, you know, you can lead a horse to water, you can't make it drink, but, you know, the Niners, I trust them to do what I don't think is best and still succeed, if that makes sense. So Xavier Legette would just be crazy. I don't feel like you need to go after that route, especially when you have a right tackle in Kingsley Suamataia on the board and Amarius Mims, but let's not even talk about that. But, I would trust him. And then to end off the draft, we got the Ravens going Amarius Mims. I doubt he comes out. I really do, but he's an absolute freak show. Should have went way earlier in this, but the Ravens would prosper. So that is going to be the video. Thank you so much for watching and supporting the show as always. I'll see y'all on the far side, and Merry Christmas. Peace.